Live. All right. How's it going, Mr. 411?
It's going well, Zach. I'm doing lovely on the 30th of November of 2022. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. We just had Thanksgiving. I ate well, and as you know, Georgia won. Good week.
Okay,
Ala-
very well then.
Alabama should make the college football playoff. That makes it even better.
That they didn't make it.
Oh, absolutely. Because it's Georgia's
Okay.
to lose now.
Well, if everybody watched Triple Option on Sunday, or if not, they can go back to YouTube and check it out. You broke down that scenario for everybody, so it's good information there.
I did. Just want to say, committee got it wrong. Alabama should be number 5, but it's okay because I'll take it.
All right. Okay. Well, it's time for the Sports Brothers. Here we go.
Yes, sir.
All right. Got to feel you like that beat, Zach. It goes
I
hard,
I do.
hard in the paint. Welcome everybody to the Sports Brothers Show. He is Zach. I'm Mr. 401, and we are the Sports Brothers. Today, we're going to talk about an individual who, former athlete, just made just an amazing comment about his team. Former collegiate athlete. So it was crazy, but we're going to talk about that at some point tonight. Coach Prime Deion Sanders has been receiving a lot of offers, or multiple offers, we'll say that. And these offers have been reported taken seriously by Coach Prime. And so we'll give our opinions on that scenario. Also, we'll talk about the NBA as it's still early in the season, but we're going to have another weekly roundup there. And of course, we're going to start off with the NFL and talk about the happenings of this past week of football action. If I'm not mistaken, Zach, it was week 12.
I believe so. Yes.
All right, so that's what
Time
we're going
is
to do.
moving very quickly.
It definitely is. It's on the move, man. And so, man, there's teams trying to move into playoff position. And we're going to go ahead and chop it up a little bit. So, Thanksgiving, let's just start there. Thanksgiving, the traditional Detroit hosting, and they hosted Buffalo. The Cowboys, they hosted the Giants. And then, of course, the more recent tradition of the third game, which can be any two teams, but it just so happened to be that the Vikings of Minnesota were hosting the Patriots of New England. So, what did you gather from those matchups on Thursday?
Um, I guess if I was going to go anything that just stuck out, once again, Cowboys defense is like a avalanche or a snowball coming down mount. Like it'll pick up momentum and gets bigger. And if they can get you to playing from behind where they know you have to pass and everything, they can really take advantage of you. So if I'm looking at a Eagles and Cowboys matchup, if the Eagles and Cowboys, and I'm speaking playoffs, stay even and the Eagles get to, run the ball, still throw the ball, kind of do all the things they want to do, Eagles probably win that. If the Eagles get behind and you got to put it on Jalen Hurts, now that might become a problem because I'm not sure he'll be able to throw his way out of that pass defense. And that was probably the big thing outside of that. Detroit, they might need a new coach. And I only say that because I, it's not really anything against Campbell because I feel like he's put them in positions, but you know this from NBA sometimes. You get a guy that's kind of like a Doug Collins that he gets you to a certain level. And, Campbell hasn't gotten Detroit to where Doug Collins got the Bulls, but then you have to bring in somebody else to say, get you over the hump. Detroit loses a lot of one score games. If you won those one score games, now you're fighting for a playoff position. You're probably in, the playoffs solidly. And they may need a coach that knows how to win those type of games. And I'm not sure what it is, but it's something that the coach is maybe bringing to the table that gets you over the hump. And I'd say those two things right there.
Okay, cool. Yeah, man. The game Thursday with the Bills. I know some people say they went through a lot of adversity because they had to play in Detroit back to back. I won't go that far with it, but they did. They won a tough one, and Detroit has shown this season that they're not a pushover. So it was a much needed win by Buffalo because, as you stated in the previous shows, they have really not been super successful in their own division, and they have some division matchups coming up, so they need to get that victory. Um, Man, we got to get to the Jets in a minute here too, but I just want to just throw this out there about Buffalo. The Bills just won back-to-back games in Detroit, and the Lions haven't done that since 2016. So a team that doesn't even play their home games in Detroit has won back-to-back games in Detroit. You know, within this time frame, they've done it before. Even the host team did it. So that was an interesting stat there. And again, before we get to the Jets, because I know you want to talk about your namesake in just a minute, but we're going to skip over to the Sunday night game where love hurts. And this game right here was interesting. You know, Hurts was running the ball like crazy, Zach. Um, Almost to the point to where I was like, I don't know if he's even thinking about passing the ball. And maybe that was part of the coaching plan, but I just feel like Hurst is putting himself, at a major risk if he continues to run this much. I understand running, to change things up, move the chains, things like that. But it was a lot of running going on, and he was taking some hits too, that I wouldn't want to see my quarterback taking. So you mentioned some things about the Eagles on that point, but one thing I want to talk about is Mr. Discount double check, Aaron Rodgers. Man, with Love coming in the game, and they say it was garbage time. We'll definitely say that. But I mean, Love came in despite that, and he could have been bad. You know what I'm saying? But he came in and looked pretty solid. And it's not to say that Love comes in and Green Bay will be much better, but at some point in time in the history of the game, you have to move on. And it just felt like this game was just a symbol of that. Like it's just time for Green Bay to, it's a fork in the road, and they need to go ahead and just move forward with the organization. They had to do it with Frank Tarkenton at some point. They did it with Brett Favre at some point, and you're going to have to do it with Aaron Rodgers at some point. So, what was your thoughts on Love, and do you think Green Bay needs to move on?
Uh, I can't judge a guy when he comes in and the other team didn't game plan for you. Like it's different when you start the game and the other team is game plan for you versus you come in, other team is up and they're playing some prevent type defense, maybe looser coverage or what have you. So the only way really to Jordan Love is if he gets to get in there and he can get some starts. But as far as Green Bay, the Aaron Rodgers era is not over. Once they gave him that contract last year, they're committed to Aaron Rodgers. There's no getting out of that contract. Their cap hits and dead money would be ridiculous. So Jordan Love is done. And basically, when they gave Aaron Rodgers that contract, they said we made a mistake signing Jordan Love, and that's just what it is. Because I think you get a $40 or $50 million dead cap hit if you get rid of Aaron Rodgers for Love. The time to get rid of Aaron Rodgers is when Green Bay lost to Tampa Bay at home. If you were going to walk away, you could have walked away then because you hadn't won a Super Bowl. The next time would have been last year when you lost in the playoffs at home to San Francisco and you couldn't put, I think, but a touchdown up on the board. Once you gave them the money, it's too late now. Green Bay folded, unfortunately. So they'll just have to figure this thing out, move forward. I'm not even sure if there's any great wide receivers that's coming out via the draft next year. So what they may need to do is You just get better from within, or maybe you go out there and trade for somebody, not that anybody that is a Devontae Adams type wide receiver, but somebody that's maybe a B level wide receiver. Uh, what the Rams did when they brought in, I forget the guy's name now. He's injured, but
Odell
Allen.
Beckham.
No, no,
Oh,
no.
okay. When they brought in Allen, okay,
Yeah, so you bring in a
Allen
second.
Robinson.
Yes, you bring in a second tier guy like that or something maybe next year and hope your other guys get better. But they're married to Aaron Rodgers. It just is what it is, unfortunately.
Yep. But man, it just feels like it's time for them to get out of this, man. It's
I,
just, you know,
it,
at some point
after
you
them
got to.
after them two playoff losses, that was your sign. Hey, it's kind of like Denver. Denver gave Russell Wilson the huge contract, and that was it. Once they gave him that money, what can they do now? Because you're going to kill yourself with dead cap money and all this other stuff, and you're going to have to gut the team. You really can't do that. You just have to figure out a way to win. Like unless Aaron Rodgers retires, and I'd say the same thing with Russell Wilson, you just have to kind of roll with it. It sucks for the team and I'd say the organizations that you put everybody else in harm's way because like you're affecting everybody else's career. I think Denver has sold off some guys because of the Wilson contract, and Green Bay may end up having to do something similar when you have individuals that, like you're saying, they aren't what they used to be when they're in their prime. And you are correct. At some point, you have to call it. And I think Drew Brees might be more accurate for modern times where we're doing like everybody expects the Tom Brady thing. Drew Brees, I think, did play until he was in his 40s, but he didn't play as long or as effectively as people thought he was going to be. And maybe that's what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. Yeah. It's happening. It's gonna, you know, I think it's gonna get worse. They're not a Super Bowl contender for one. And if you have Aaron Rodgers, I mean, what else is he playing for at this point? You know what I mean? So
$50
if you
million.
have him, yeah, I mean, he's pretty much bagged that, right? So he's basically gonna be playing quarterback with a ski mask on.
Yeah. Yes. But they had to. I mean, all teams kind of when you give these quarterbacks that type of money, that's what you have to expect. I'd say the guy right now, uh, a young fella in Kansas City, Mahomes, he's
Yeah,
earning
Patrick. Yeah,
he's earning every bit of his contract. Like it seems like he's making those pieces around him better, which is what you expect to do. And look, in fairness to Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, they used to do that. So for whatever reason that it's not happening right now, they used to do that. So it just kind of it is what it is.
yeah. I don't know. Can you hear me, Zack?
I can hear you loud and
Okay,
clear.
good. Okay. All right, good. We had a cloud that just came across, and I was just wondering if that affected anything.
Oh no, you're good.
But okay, but yeah. Speaking of Russell Wilson, right? Let's go ahead and talk about that. You know, Russell Wilson, and I'm just so happy to talk about Russell Wilson this
I
season.
know.
But, but, and not in a bad way. I do like Russell Wilson. Just didn't like that he wanted to leave my team. But anyway, Russell Wilson, man, is in the news. You shared this with me earlier today in our production meeting. But man, in Denver, okay, there's a lot of talk of players like not really enjoying Russell right now, the Russell experience right now. And it's been reported by Bleacher Report that Russell Wilson's wife, Sierra, had a put together a birthday party, and like maybe half of the team showed
No.
up. So and then you informed me in the production meeting that there were some players that were actually yelling at Russell Wilson. It's been reported too. I think some of the
Well,
defense has
well,
been frustrated with them
a guy on the
with his
sideline this
play.
weekend, yes.
Yeah, but man, to have a birthday party and it's
Why would
hosted,
she do it?
yeah, hosted by Sierra. I mean,
Why?
why wouldn't you attend this party? You know what I'm
Uh,
saying?
it because I, Ru- Man, this is okay. This is not me saying this. This is me saying what I believe people think. A lot of guys, a lot of people don't look at Russell Wilson as being black. They also don't necessarily probably look at him as being one of the guys, and they think of him as being inauthentic. That's a bad combination of things. When you're winning, as with everything, you winning, it don't matter what you look like. You can be ugly, you can be short, you can be fat. You winning, ain't nobody gonna say nothing about you. Once you start losing, all of a sudden, all them things is like wrong with you or whatever, people gonna point out to you, and it all of a sudden ain't as funny as what it was. And this is what kind of quarterbacks have to remember. Think about it. Russell Wilson in Seattle, he can always go back to, I'm the quarterback that led Seattle to their first Super Bowl. And then he's been there for a while. He can feel entitled. He's some sort of way. And even as fans, you have to kind of defer to him. He did get us our first Super Bowl. In Denver, first off, John Elway was a quarterback there. Then Peyton Manning was a quarterback there. Both of them did win Super Bowls. Both of them played in multiple Super Bowls. And Peyton Manning, up until that last year, was excellent. John Elway was John Elway. John Elway was plenty good when he was in his prime. Russell Wilson has come in and he's just bad. And then he came in, and this is the problem. And this is something that the players are going to have to fix because the owners don't care. I think I might have said this last week. But if the salary cap is $250 million, the owner is paying $250 million anyway. So what do I care if my quarterback is getting 200 of that 250 million, and then the other players have to split up the 50 million? And I think that's how guys are looking at him too. Your sorry ass came in here. You ain't helping us win games. You got all this money. We had to get rid of Bradley Chubb because you got this money, and we getting rid of folks because of you that have been here and helped us be successful or get us to a certain level. And then you ain't even the type of guy I want to go drink a beer with. That's what I said. Sierra might should have just kept it to personal friends.
Yeah.
Or even, hey, baby, just you and I gonna go out and celebrate your birthday. And I'm not sure Russell Wilson right now should be celebrating anything anyway.
Well, yeah, I just think that, man, just the sign of like that's your quarterback. That's the leader of the team. And it's the birthday party for the quarterback, the leader of the team.
He's
And
your
you would think
quarterback,
yeah,
but I don't know if he's the
right. It
leader of the
should be the
team.
leader, right? But should come in and be the leader of the team. But because of the status of quarterback that he, has been over his career, and plus he was brought over to Denver for that reason. You bring him in, insert him into the players that they had on offense, the defense that was good and is actually good this year, and we can back that with this, Zach. The Broncos, they would be 9-1 if they scored 18 or more points this season at this point, based on the scores so far in their first 12 games. First 10 games there, they would have been 9-1. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's just putting 18 on the board. And we know that in this era, 18 points is, that
Should
should
be
be
nothing,
easier to
right?
come by. Right?
Everybody says it's flag football.
Yeah, yeah. And it's wide open. You know what I'm saying? And so that's just to get to 18. You know what I'm saying? So if they get that, they're
To
9-1 right now.
To not average 20 points a game as an NFL offense is embarrassing.
Yeah. And so I think you combine all those things and then not attending the party, that just tells you what you need to know right now. So there's some work that needs to be done in Denver. I'm going to flash up the score, Zach, and then we can get to the Jets, because I just can't wait to hear what you have to say about Zach Wilson, the Zach Wilson situation with the Jets getting that victory. But here's some of the scores there, as you can see, ladies and gentlemen. You see the Thursday night, the Thanksgiving Day scores. The down there where the Jets are. Okay, the Jets, they take care of the Bears. We know the Bears are not one of the greatest of teams, and I think Fields was out with the shoulder or not, situation and everything.
He was, and
But
hopefully he'll sit for the rest of the year.
yeah, great idea by the Bears organization if they do that. because he's already shown you now that he's starting to progress and get to another step in his progression for his career. Something hit this somewhere in there. The lights was switched on a little bit, so that's good. But man, talk about the situation here with the Jets. Zach Wilson was benched. White comes in and looks pretty good. It just seems like the team responded this week a little bit better. So what's your take on that?
It just kind of going back to the Russell Wilson thing. If you're gonna be the quarterback, you have to. I don't think everybody has to like you, but they do need to respect you. And as you said, you're supposed to be the leader. So certain things, and whether you want it to be or not want it to be, and this just comes with leadership. It's your fault. When things go bad, it's your fault. And if you're making all the money, then it should really be your fault. Even if it ain't your fault, you get up there and say it's your fault. You take the heat off your offensive lineman. What was it? Wasn't it Peyton Manning one time in a press conference back when he was with Indy, and they were just pressing him and pressing him, and you could tell he was mad. He said, "Look, guys, I'm trying to be a good teammate here," because he didn't want to say what it was.
Yeah.
And I think with Zach Wilson, you don't play well. You don't perform like your offense put up 3 points. It yes, I let the defense down. If you don't go out there and score 20 points as an offense, you let the defense down. And I'm of the belief if your offense goes out there and scores 30 points and you don't win the game, from a defensive standpoint, you let the team down. Like your offense goes and gets you 30. You should be able to hold the other team to less than 30. So Zach Wilson doesn't have quote unquote the intangible. Well, it doesn't seem like he has the ability right now to consistently perform at the level you need as a quarterback. But he doesn't have the intangibles that you want for somebody to be up in front of your organization, representing them, that you're taking around, showing the sponsors and everything. And that's not totally his fault, because when we go back 2 years ago, we talked about, I in particular, that why is this guy being drafted at number 2? Just based on a whole bunch of things. And you go out there with Mike White. Now, it might have been set up for Mike White because Fields didn't play and the Bears ain't that good. But I think more to the point, you can see how the team gravitated towards him after the game, that they like him. And I want to say Keyshawn brought this up, that I didn't think about it, but this is very true when I go back to kind of high school and back to college of how it works. The coaches that used to like Zach Wilson and joke with Zach Wilson may not like him and laugh and joke so much anymore because Zach Wilson was costing them their job. Just like Russell Wilson, the head coach, what is it? What's his name? Nathaniel Hackett. He's gonna get fired. Like, because you can't fire Russell Wilson, right? So if Russell Wilson doesn't get fixed, Nathaniel Hackett is gonna get fired. Zach Wilson was, and Wilson, right? Was working on, I'm not gonna say get the Jets coaching staff fired, but he was putting them in a compromising position. If Mike White goes out here and continues to win games or just perform adequately enough, like you were kind of that statistic that you put up there about the Broncos, just score enough, don't hurt us, so we have a chance to win the game. And like, it just is what it is, man. You understand how it is. We all got to feed our families, right? We all got bills to pay. We gonna gravitate towards the people that help us take care of the things that we need to take care of. And I think that's what's going on with the Jets. And if Wilson gets drafted in the 20s, maybe if he gets drafted in the second round, you don't have this type of thing going on with him. But he didn't. He got drafted where he got drafted, and I mean, is he done at the Jets quarterback? I don't think he should be. I'd like to see him fight through it. And, you lift yourself up, but we've seen this play out many times, right?
Yeah. And again, some of this is, teams, organizations over the years have pushed their quarterbacks out really early in their career. And so he has to learn how to handle the media. He has to learn how to handle losing. In college, you probably win a lot more games than you lose, especially because you can set your schedule basically how you want it as a
Yes.
university. So you got a favorable schedule. Majority of games probably at home, and then you got 5 or 6 teams. You know you're gonna be. You might have that 1 to 2 games during the season. That's the tough matchup. So pretty much you're gonna win a lot. In the NFL, where you drafting all the players, the teams are drafting these teams out of a pool of players. So now you have a finite pool of players at the highest of levels. You you're gonna lose. You know what I'm saying? At some point, you're gonna get hit. And
Yes.
so, how do you handle those things? And and then he's in the New York media. On top of that, yeah, this is a lot to ask. So if there was a way to have him sit and have a veteran in front of him for a while, maybe that would be the better move at this point and go from there. Even like Willis, right? Malik Willis, we
Yes.
haven't seen much of him this year. Only outside of an injury to the quarterback is when he's been on the field. So at least he has a Tannehill that he's behind, at least for the next season or two, possibly three. But when it's time to unveil him, he will be able to have been more familiar with the system, teammates, and all that kind of stuff. And so that's probably what's happening right now with Zach Wilson. But man, it was just ironic that the game that you're out, now the team looks a lot better.
It,
And
guys
you know
like
what I mean?
guys liking you mean a lot. And if guys aren't going to like you, as I said, they need to respect you. And if they not going to do either, then you need to go out there and be a baller. And like Aaron Rodgers can say what Zach Wilson said after the game. Aaron Rodgers has a resume, what, four-time
Yes,
MVP, and he's a
yes,
Super Bowl winner and a Super Bowl MVP. Even Russell Wilson couldn't have done that because outside of the Super Bowl, what does Russell Wilson have? No MVPs. He's he's a good quarterback. I would have said before this season that he was a first ballot Hall of Famer, but he's probably still a Hall of Famer. We're going I hope so. But even he couldn't say anything crazy like that. Like you have to know who you are.
right,
Zach
right.
Wilson is somebody that, dude, like stop it. They've been playing better without you than they would. Like you just some dude that's on the team.
Right, and you had moments here, the
Yes.
Buffalo game looked good. But that's part of the ebbs and flows right now. And you're gonna look good some weeks and bad some others, but you gotta be able to handle it. And a lot of times you learn about people when things are not going great. That's when you really learn about people. You know what I mean?
Amen.
So he's got to work through that. Speaking of having to work through something, my Seahawks, man, run defense, got to work on that because man, we were tore into pieces by the Raiders running game this week. Took me back to the days of when Bo Jackson was running over us. And you know what I'm
Well,
saying? So
I won't go there, but yes, tough game.
you remember the Bo Jackson running over Bosworth on Monday Night Football. Yeah,
I did.
but yeah, so man, Seattle, that was a tough one. There was a fumble in there, but the officials did call forward progress on that. Um, and that would have been a turnover that pretty much would have sealed the game at that point. But you can't let it get to that point. So the Raiders deserve to win. They did. To me, they were the better team. I was sitting there watching it with a couple people, and I even told them, and this was Seattle even had to lead, but I was like, this feels like a Seattle game where they're gonna lose it. Not being a downer, but just understanding or watching them for 30 plus years. You know, this is the type of game that they would lose. Now next week, come back with a bounce back win, Seattle. That's what they'll do. But this would have been a good one to get because San Francisco won their game. And as you can see on the scoreboard, again, the 49ers won. But there were some injuries there in San Francisco. So we're going to have to see how they handle that situation. Is there any other matchups here that stand out to you before we exit the NFL?
If I was gonna, let's see, Chargers. It
Okay.
that was a very important win for the Chargers because they are teetering on, and I didn't have them in the playoffs, but that's just because I don't necessarily believe. But that loss right there, look, because I think if you're in the AFC right now, you want to keep a 7 in the loss column. You go 10-7 in the AFC, that probably keeps you in the mix.
Right.
Anything with an 8, or I should say anything 9 wins or less, and that might be the case in both conferences, but definitely in the AFC, 9 wins or less. Now you're going to be hoping for different scenarios and everything. So the Chargers are keeping themselves possibility that they can win 10, 11 games.
Yeah, that was a huge win, and I believe they now have a flex game this Sunday. So
Yep.
for Sunday Night Football, which is another key matchup, so we will see the Chargers again on a key matchup, on a flex game, which is very important. And so we'll see how that goes for them. A huge win there for the Chargers. They tend to do this. They tend to be in the mix up to the last game of the season or the regular season. So we're gonna see if they their fortunes are much better this season.
Uh,
One more matchup. Oh, go ahead, Zach, and then I
but
got another matchup. But go
well,
ahead.
I was just say for their coach, they better make the playoffs because if not, uh, I think they'll be getting a new coach next year.
All right, you heard it here first from Zach. All right. The Bengals. I think this was an impressive victory for the Bengals. Had
Yes,
their backup running back. Uh, they don't have Chase at receiver. And this is a tough Tennessee Titans team, right? Tough running game, bruising back, solid on defense, and Bengals were on the road. I think that was a game right there for Cincinnati. That's a quality win. That's a win where if Cincinnati goes on a run, um, they are the defending AFC champions right now. But if they go on a run, they can look back to this game right here and say, okay, that was a tough victory. We got it done on the road, smash mouth type of matchup. Um, the Steelers are not looking great this year. The Browns are not looking great this year. So, and to me, the Ravens are kind of flatlining right now. They're kind of leveling out. So it looks like Cincinnati might be making a move. What do you think about them?
I would agree with your assessment because anytime you lose any of your big guns, like they didn't have Chase, but they also didn't have Joe Mixon.
Oh yeah, right, right,
That,
right. They
that
had P
is,
running back.
those are two key components to your offense that you didn't have. I'm not going to say you steal a game. You went out there and won a tough AFC game because the Titans are not a pushover. Whereas your division rival, the Ravens, who already beat you, I believe, they go out and give up a game, and I think now aren't they even in the standings?
Yes,
So
they're back.
that's a huge swing because that should be at worst case that should have been Ravens still up one game on them.
Yeah,
But now, like you said, this gives you life,
yeah.
and
Because if
I
you can
and
do
I
this without your guys, man, imagine what you do when you get everybody back.
I think Chase, they're going to try and work Chase back in it this week, and I hope. Look, I hope, and I'm sure the Bengals hope Joe Mixon is back this week. So we both hoping.
Well, we'll see. For fantasy purpose, I hope P Ryan is running the ball one more week.
Exactly. We need to go on and get Mixon back up in this thing.
Yeah, give him one more week, at least one more week. All right, all right. So we're going to talk about this former college athlete that just said some head scratching, just a head scratching statement. But before we get to that, we're gonna shift over to the NBA, Zach. We'll touch on the NBA. The season's still young. But one of my things right now with the NBA, and I'm one of the biggest of NBA supporters, watcher, you know, whatever you want to call it. Had the league pass since the
Yes.
97. Uh, but man, all these players sitting down for load management. I mean, it's like load management gone wild. Like you don't know who's gonna play from one night to the next. I mean, that's where it is right now. And not to say that the league is just totally not really caring about the regular season, but it's kind of like how it feels right now. It's like we're just gonna tread water. It's okay to sit 3 or 4 guys. We'll be okay. And that's on top of the real injuries that are happening, right? Because James Harden's coming back next. I think he's coming back Monday. Friday, I'm hearing that Middleton will be back for the Bucks, and Now you talking about the rich getting richer. The Bucks already look pretty good, and now they're going to get their starter back. So that'll be interesting to see. But so far, man, like the Utah Jazz, at one point in time, they were at the top of the West. 9 games later, they're the ninth seed.
Yes,
They've been struggling
plan is
of
working.
late.
Plan is working beautifully for them. Came out
Oh yeah,
strong, but now it doesn't look like they're really tanking when they are.
yeah, exactly. Danny Ainge is sitting back somewhere smiling. I'm telling you right now, he is
Yes.
enjoying this. Keep playing hard, fellas, and then winking the eye.
Yep.
Like that's what we want. We want Victor Wembanyama. That's what
Yep.
we want. You know what I mean? So,
That would be a big deal for Utah to get him.
yeah, it would be.
Because have they ever had the #1 overall pick?
Wow. We'll
I
put it
mean,
on our social media page, or if anybody else knows that, put it on our YouTube page. But to come to mind, I'm trying to think through it off the top.
Adrian Dantley, maybe? No.
I mean, no, because Dantley, no, Dantley played with the Lakers. He played with I think he played with Golden State. He played with a couple teams
Wasn't
before
he
he came
wasn't
over.
he there when they were the New Orleans Jazz or something? Or maybe I'm
No, Pistol Pete was.
ah,
Pistol Pete was with the Jazz. Now Dantley did play with the Jazz. I think he
okay.
played with the Utah Jazz. But Dantley started off with a couple other teams first. I'm gonna test myself right now, but I think it was Golden State and the Lakers. He played with the Lakers for a little bit too, before he went to Utah and tore it up and just tore the league to pieces. If you don't know about Dantley, go look him up.
Yes.
And then, of course, in Detroit, he did his thing too.
Yes, he did.
Right at the cusp of the bad boy era. Before
Don't mouth off to Isaiah.
well, you'll get shipped out of there, right?
Yep,
But
get you shipped out of town.
yeah.
He's
But
captain.
Dantley was a machine, and unlike Stephen A. Smith, he thinks Donovan Mitchell is the greatest Utah Jazz player of all time. Of course, we're going to start with maybe a Malone, maybe. I mean, anybody knows who Karl Malone is, or maybe a Stockton, and then Adrian Dantley. I would definitely put Adrian Dantley ahead of Donovan Mitchell as well. So
As you said,
you
Pistol
know,
Pete.
yeah, and Pete Maravich. So enough of that. But yeah, the Jazz, they're back where they belong. They're currently number 9, so they're still in the playing tournament. They got a little more work to do to get there with the Spurs, because the Spurs are the one. Now you talking about a team trying to get Victor. The Spurs are on track.
Well, as long as
They're
you're in the
definitely on
top 4,
track.
you're good though, because they have those weighted percentages. So you just want to be 1 through 4.
Right. Yeah. So we'll see how that continues to pan out there. I'll tell you what though. Speaking of Victor Wembanyama, Bowl Zack, and I think I remember mentioning to him in our preview with Rod and yourself. Bowl, man, he's really come along. I remember he was drafted by Denver, I believe, and he was on the Nuggets roster for a while, kind of floundering. But man, he's catching on very well now in Orlando, and he's really looking like a very good player. I mean, he might get NBA Most Improved. And if you want to know what Victor Wembanyama is going to look like, just take a look at Bowl from time to time, and Kristaps Porzingis. Look at those two players, and that's what you're probably going to get from Victor Wembanyama. But Bowl, like he's on the roll, man. He's on the roll.
Well,
Anything caught your eye so far this season? Oh,
well,
go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say, well, I was just saying, and you kind of know this. You get these guys when they're like 18, 19, and the
Right.
NBA is a grown man's league. You got to give them, 3, 4 years, if not sometimes 5, 6 years, so they can really develop physically and understand the NBA game. Kind of just like what you said, you go from playing 30 games in college to you're expected to play 80 games in the NBA, along with the travel and responsibility and grown ass men in the NBA.
Right.
Like it may not seem like it, but they be grown and they not giving you a break. One of these shows we're gonna have to put up the video that Bradley Beal put up in Washington when he was talking to the young guys, which is why I try not to give him as hard of a time anymore. But when he was talking to the kids, and he said, if you want to make it to the NBA, you need to be better than me, because you're gonna have to guard somebody like me every night. And
every night.
And look, and Brad, this is no shade at Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal ain't even one of the like he's not the top guard or anything. Like he's in a bucket of a lot of guards in the NBA that are good, but he wouldn't be that you would say the great. And what did he do? He averaged 30 a couple years back or whatever. And just think
Yeah.
about that. So that's what I'm saying. These young guys, they got to get used to that. Golden State sent the guy I really like, but it's more I like him. It seems like they really don't. Wiseman down to
Yeah.
the G League, and they sent him there because they didn't feel like he was playing well enough. But he's still a young guy that hasn't played a lot of games, and it's gonna probably take him a while.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And
And
then we have like, oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Finish out, Zach.
no, I was just saying, and you're saying what's kind of sticking out. I think a lot of teams outside of what maybe Boston that we expected to play well is taking them this first kind of quarter of the season, which I guess we need to get a breakdown in. But it's almost like they've used this first part of the season as their training camp, so they
Yeah.
can get ready for the rest of the season. Going back to what you're saying about guys sitting out, they know they have so many games that, hey, we have time. This is a marathon.
Yeah. That's what it's looking like right now. But yeah, Boston to me is looking like probably right now, they're looking strong and they are, regardless of the coaching staff situation and all that, they're looking good. Jason Tatum is looking like a candidate um, for MVP at this point. And of course, the Bucks are still going to be strong because they just have a team, a good unit, and we'll
Well,
see how things go.
they do, and then they have Giannis.
Oh, well, they got Giannis too.
Like
I
all
mean, that
that
don't
stuff
hurt,
is
Zach.
great. But then you add Giannis in there,
Yeah, they have
well,
a guy that's great on both ends of the
hey,
court. I mean, that's all.
hey, like they said, the Avengers. Hey, we got a Hulk. They just said we got a Giannis.
There it is. All right. So we'll get back into the NBA. Christmas is usually the unveiling of the season. And
Yeah.
so we have a couple more weeks before we get there. And then we'll really know what's going on. And by the way, we can't leave out the Lakers. Um, they're man, they blew a 17-point lead, Zach, in the fourth quarter.
Tough
7-point
loss.
lead. Yeah. And for all of whatever you want to say, the Lakers have to play defense. And if the defense isn't going to be there, I don't care who's on the court, then it's just not going to work. And so, the defense is going to have to be number one priority on the team. We could talk about all the other players and situations and roles and all that. If they're not playing team defense, it's going to be a problem. And that loss to Indiana was tough. And that reminded me. Oh, go ahead, Zach.
Well, I would say outside of Davis, who do they have that can play? I guess Beverly. Aren't them the only two dudes they had that can play defense?
Yeah, you said one, Davis.
Okay, well then,
Beverly.
but that's what I'm saying. So like,
Yeah,
like because what game was it? They won a game a few days ago. What, against the Spurs? Didn't they score 140 some points or something? Or am I
yeah.
getting that wrong?
Against the Spurs.
But
Yeah.
but I'm saying, but they gave up
Like
130 something,
138.
or
Yeah.
like that is, those are kind of things that you think like, nah, we need you to give up around 100
Right.
and then
Exactly.
score your 130 or 140.
Yes. Correct. So the offense getting the points on the board is not going to be the problem. It's a matter, do you have the personnel that's going to be able to stop anybody? And then Golden State, they're not tearing the league up either right now. And it looks like, I'm not going to say it's the end of an era, but it's definitely a different look right now. And they may need to figure out a way to shake some things up. They probably need to look into getting a win now type of trade situation going there if they want to stay in the picture. Right now, it's about the youth, the movement. I think there's a shift going on in the league, but we'll see how things pan out after the holidays, and we'll get Rod in here to help us out with that too.
Well, if Golden State is going to make a move, they know what they need to do. It's just a matter will you do it, and it's probably you got to pull the trigger on Draymond Green to see if
Yeah,
that has affected some stuff in your locker room. And I get that it shouldn't be a problem, but now we go back to what we were talking about with Russell Wilson. Dudes will be looking at you sideways, and it's just Hey, let's go have a beer. Oh man, I gotta. Hey, my wife needs me to do such and such, such, or my mom. Like, don't nobody want to go have a beer with you no more. Why
Yeah,
is that?
yeah. All right. We're gonna find out as the season turns. And then to close
He's
out the
playing
NBA
very well.
discussion. Oh yeah. Yeah. Tyrese Halliburton. Man, this is speaking of young players drafted by a team. You know, he
Yes.
was in Sacramento and now he's in Indiana. And man, amazing. This, I mean, you have to really understand the game to realize what kind of stat this is. This is like Hall of Fame level type stuff he's doing right here. 40 plus assists, but look at the zero.
Oh,
Turnovers
that is you. You could have told me 30 plus assists and
and
no turn
zero.
like the no turnover part. Even if he wasn't getting any assists, like
Right.
that's a, as you said, that's a bit like it's hard not to have a turnover where you actually have the ball in your hand and you making decisions. And the Pacers are four in the league. That might not
Yeah.
mean anything come the end of the season, but they have outperformed expectations, and he is a big part of that. Like that was a. I get why Sacramento made the trade, but that's a good trade. That has been a good trade for the Pacers also.
Yeah. Very good trade by the Pacers. And so let's get to this comment, Zach, by a former collegiate athlete. And when I saw this comment, Zach, I was like, man, we have to put this on the show. And I have to get the reaction from Zach about this. So, you know, as I always tell you, ladies and gentlemen, Zach, you know, former great cornerback football player. You know, he's our football analyst, you know, for the 401 Sports World Network. And you can see Zach and I are the co-hosts for the Sportz Brothers. And so to pick Zach's brain here about this comment, man, I'm gonna go ahead and throw it up here, Zach. All right. You're probably familiar with this gentleman, George Pickens.
Just
He
a
plays
little.
for the yeah, he played at your favorite collegiate football team, and he's playing for the Steelers. And he says practices at Georgia, which is the University of Georgia, were harder than the NFL because there was so much talent on the Bulldogs defense. I'm gonna leave it right there, and I want to hear what Zach has to say. Then after that, we're gonna talk about Coach Prime.
Okay. I'm gonna be kind and I'm gonna forget that last part that he said about the defense right now. And I'm just gonna look at the part that he said is harder because maybe he is combining these two things and he shouldn't. Because you know, the NFL relaxed some of their standards as far as all the hitting and everything that you could do in practice. So my guess is at the collegiate level, especially at a place like Georgia, you can still do a whole bunch of hitting and things like that. The physical part. And from a talent perspective, it doesn't matter how talented you are. And think about not that the Knicks teams with Riley weren't necessarily talented, but when you could play that rough and tough style, which I know from playing on the basketball court, it can help make up for a lack of skill.
Mm-hmm.
So he may feel all think back to the Georgia practices that you're going through all these little drills that you go through and hitting, and oh man, practice was tough there. NFL, these guys have more skill. They're more cerebral. They don't necessarily need to do all this hitting because they're the best of the best. Like they know how to go tackle. They've been tackling for probably since they were in damn grade school or whatever. Now, the part about him saying that the Bulldogs defense was so talented, which I assume he's trying to say that his Pittsburgh Steelers defense, because that's the defense he goes up against in practice, right?
Right.
That has TJ Watt on it, Mika Fitzpatrick. I forget the big tackle that they have, or he might be another end lineman. Uh, Stop it. Everybody on the Pittsburgh Steelers defense is a professional athlete. No, he even if he's going up against the scout team, they professional athletes. Uh,
Exactly.
he, I would like to see more performance on the field if his practice is maybe he needs to practice hard or whatever. But he feeling that if he was a quarterback, he'd be getting the Wilson treatment right now. He's just some dumb wide receiver, so nobody will care too much. That is not a statement that he should be saying.
All
Unless
right.
he has Randy Moss type production as a rookie.
Wow. Yeah, that was mind boggling to
No.
hear that. So I wanted to definitely get your insight on that. And
So somebody should get a mic in his face and maybe ask him to clarify, because maybe his statements were taken out of context.
okay, we'll give him at least
Because
that little bit.
TJ Watt and Mika Fitzpatrick, you got to be kidding me. Like,
Yes,
stop
sir.
it.
Exactly. All right, stop it. We got to put that on a t-shirt. All right, Coach Prime, Zach. We down to the 10-minute mark here, but Coach Prime, there's a lot of talk about the head coach at Jackson State, and there's been some organizations that are have sent offers out, and then there was two out there that was the University of Colorado, and then also the University of South Florida. So there's a lot of back and forth on that, and Coach Prime did say publicly that he's going to entertain offers. He's making no bones about that. And so, with that said, Zach, I'm just give you my take on it, and I'll let you close it out from there, or we can go back and forth a little bit. But
Okay.
I just feel like he's taking these offers, and that's great. But I think that Coach Prime said from the beginning that he was called upon by the man upstairs, to go to Jackson State and make a difference and make change. And I think if he leaves at this point, I think it's still at the infancy stages right now, and to me, that would alter all those changes. You know what I mean? Like I feel like he needs to hang around a little longer, and it doesn't necessarily have to be as a head coach, but even if it's a role, uh, at some kind of administrative role or leadership role in the conference and things like that. I just think that's what he's there for, according to what he said. So taking an offer uh, to go coach at a Power Five school at this point, I think that just kind of negates what he, was saying coming over. So, what do you think about it? And do you think he's going to take one of these two offers right here that we know about?
Well, my stance on him ain't changed from the beginning. I always thought he took the job at Jackson State to fast track to getting a head coaching job. But I kind of thought eyes have always been on the Florida State job.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably not going to leave with his son being a sophomore at Jackson State, but the South Florida job would be a very good job for him to get. And I say that like I kind of look at it, what can you do with the job? He's a Florida guy. Fort Myers, Florida, I believe.
That's correct.
So he's a Floridian. He can already connect with people that South Florida, and I'm gonna continue to say this, and this is gonna probably be the biasness in me. But it's hard for me to believe that programs like a Georgia State, Georgia Southern, you want to go South Florida, UCF, programs like that if they get 2 and 3 star Florida and Georgia football players, that they can't be good. Deion Sanders would get 4 and 5 star football players at South Florida. The college football playoff is expanding to 12 teams. If you're the top non-Power 5 team, you automatically get a berth. That would be I would think that would be an attractive job to take outside of what you're saying. Like everything you're saying as far as why he went to Jackson State, then he shouldn't even be entertaining these jobs. He should stick with that. But South Florida or UCF, to me, maybe even Florida International, where you can get the Florida and Georgia kids, those would be a guy with his personality. That would be the next step after Jackson State. And then now you make the college football playoff a couple times. Now you can get other jobs. Because I thought Auburn, I would have rather seen Auburn hire him than Hugh Freeze, but I'm sure Hugh Freeze's resume is what trumped Deion Sanders. So therefore, they couldn't go to him. But I think a guy with his personality, ability to recruit people, and he can get real coaches. Like he has a great coaching staff at Jackson State.
Yeah.
Uh, that would be. It, it's just a matter of time. I think depending on what he wants to do, and then it's just who's gonna give him an opportunity to come in, because you have to understand he's gonna be different than maybe the normal guy. So will your boosters be able to deal with a personality that's going to be a little different? Still going to be professional, just different.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a good word to use, is different. And they're going to have to adjust, will be another word too. But man, can you imagine though, if Deion can stay there, Coach Prime can stay at Jackson State, if he can somehow work it out with the administration there, maybe even get Jackson State to a level where they can move into a, from the FCS to the FBS and join a conference. What they call it? The what you call it? The non-power five,
Yeah,
but
I
get
mean, if
into a
that's his
non-power
goal, he
five
can do it.
conference with as Jackson State, and
Because
then go from there and
I
see
think
if
their
they.
stadium. Oh, sorry, I was gonna say I think their stadium is as big as Texas State Stadium. Like I think both were 30,000-40,000
Yeah,
seat
what it
stadiums.
there's some recorded games that Jackson State's had like 50 plus thousand at
Yep.
games and stuff. They
So
probably gonna have that this week against Southern in the SWAC championship game. So, yeah, I think it's kind of there. But again, we'll see how all it pans out. We'll get into more detail on it too, ladies and gentlemen. If you tune in on Sundays, 9:30 a.m. on Triple Option, that's a college football show. You'll see
especially this
Zack's
summer.
face there. You'll see 411. You'll see Coy. You'll see Brooks. You even see Orion from time to time. He's been ducking and hiding since FAMU lost to Jackson State
I
early in the
mean,
season.
he
Uh,
is not.
but anyway, enough of that.
Maybe you see Goddard.
Oh yeah, we gotta get Goddard back too. I mean, Goddard uh, having a tough time, since Georgia beat
I
Tennessee.
not they're 10-2. That season has exceeded expectation.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then we got a comment from Darlene Sampson. Hello, Darlene. She says true about Dion, but Dion would have been good. So I think she's referring to Dion would have been he would have been good in that situation
But
at Auburn. I think she responded to that Auburn statement.
yes, but
Yeah,
I think what everybody needs to understand about these positions, especially when you get at the higher level of universities like Alabama, Georgia, Auburn, Texas, is it's maybe less about the football X's and O's, and it's more about the political part. I mean, like just being real. Think about back to Texas when they had Charlie Strong, and who was it? Red. What was it? Red McComb said, "I think he would have been a great defensive coordinator, but not our head coach." Like it's a lot of the politics that you
right,
have to go through in front of boosters and everything. Not and Dion has a personality that if you're not someone that's used to that type of personality, you may not be ready for that as a booster.
right. Yep, exactly. And so that's why I think it'd be beautiful if he does it with Jackson State. Then you have to worry about all that personality and all the other options in there. But yes, darling, we thank you
Yes.
for your comments and everything. We thank you for watching and all your family and friends that are doing the same. Continue to hit that share button and share all the episodes with everybody. But definitely, and she said, yes, you have a good point. Darlene's a fan of you, Zach.
Well, thank
That's
you. I
you just have a fan. You keep building your fan club, man.
I kind of think Dion is the head coach of Florida State. It's just a matter of when that will happen.
Okay, well, we'll definitely see how that goes. We're down to the wire here, but we do thank everybody for watching and
Yes,
listening.
thank you.
We thank you, and look at Darlene again, booster shaking my head.
I
Yeah, but yeah, we thank everybody for watching. Tune in about 2 minutes because you're going to see Daryl Andrews. He's going to talk about health, making health your priority. So be ready for that in a few seconds.
I will be ready.
All right. Okay, he's Zach. I'm 4-1. Have a good one. We'll see
Take
you.
care, everyone. Thank you.